Jaire Alexander upgrades to a full participant in practice, but Ricard's still out. We'll talk about that impact and who could step up in his place. We'll also go over the Bills injury report, talk about Malaki Starks' debut, the turnover battle, and we hear from coordinators Chris Horton, Todd Monken, and Zach Orr. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. We're one day closer, man. It feels like this week is dragging. I cannot wait for Sunday night. The Ravens are going white on black uniform combo, and they're also the favorites now, which is kind of crazy. Buffalo on most sports books started out as 1.5 favorites, which obviously makes the Ravens underdogs, but that has now swung to the Ravens. The Ravens are minus 1.5, minus 125 money line. So that just shows you that the money has been flowing to Baltimore since the initial spread has been put out, and now the Ravens are favorites, but it could always fluctuate. We'll see. I think it's still kind of a pick'em game overall. I'll be dropping the game preview episode tomorrow and also doing the Ronnie Stanley autograph picture giveaway for the members. This is a members only giveaway just because they're paying me every month, man. I got to give back in some way, man. I appreciate all you guys, though. So tomorrow, game preview episode for Bills Ravens, diving into all the details of the matchup and then also doing that giveaway. But let's dive into today's updates. We'll go over the Ravens injury report first. We got some good news and bad news. The good news is that Jaire Alexander upgraded from a limited to a full practice. So unless he downgrades tomorrow to a DNP or something like that, I'm expecting Jaire Alexander to go. And then Fa'alele also upgraded from limited to full, but he was no concern. He just had an illness, so he was limited yesterday, but he's never been in concern for this game. I do like Jaire Alexander's odds to go, though. And then Isaiah Likely is clearly not going to play with that foot injury. He's 2 DNPs in a row, and we weren't expecting him to play anyway. Pat Ricard had another DNP today, so he is also looking very unlikely to go on Sunday night. And that's the big story, I think, this week for the Ravens is that Jaire Alexander is probably going to play and Patrick Ricard is probably not going to play. We still have tomorrow's practice and injury report, so we'll see how it plays out, but Patrick Ricard hasn't practiced in 2 weeks now. He's dealing with a calf strain, and he's had DNPs all week this week. Not a great sign. Meanwhile, Jaire is the opposite. You know, he didn't practice for 3 weeks, but he's practicing every day right now and upgraded to full. So totally different trajectories there. I'm not expecting Pat Ricard to go, which is a big loss. It's mainly a big loss to the run game. And it doesn't mean that the Ravens still can't run the ball, though. You know, I've been seeing a lot of people say, like, oh, we're just going to air it out now. And I don't really think that's the case. I still think that the Ravens are versatile enough and have enough options to be able to attack whatever the defense is giving them. Does the run game get less versatile? There's less options in the run game? Yes, for sure. But I still think that we could always activate Lucas Scott and still operate as usual. Now, he's not as good as Patrick Ricard, clearly, but you could still keep a fullback in the game and run those types of runs that you want. Or they don't activate a fullback at all and maybe activate another tight end or Charlie Kolar's role, which I already think is going to get expanded quite a bit. Maybe he has a huge role. Maybe Charlie Kolar's in a ton of snaps, you know? He could be out there very often blocking for the run game and going out on some passes. I think this is a huge Charlie Kolar game. Maybe not from a statistical standpoint, but this is a guy that rarely gets a catch in a game. You know, he's not very involved usually. And I think that this game would be different. I do think he could see 2 or 3 catches, and I think he's going to get maybe 35, 40 snaps, man. I think he's out there often as a blocker mainly, but will be out there in the pass game as well. Don't sleep on Charlie Kolar. This is a huge game for Charlie Kolar, and he's going to have more opportunity than he usually does, and I think he's perfectly built for it, man. This guy has always done a good job when given opportunity, and he's going to be given a lot more opportunity than usual, so I'm expecting a big Charlie Kolar game in the absence of Pat Ricard and Isaiah Likely. Heading over to the Bills injury report, it looks like they're going to be without their kicker, Tyler Bass. He was a DNP today, and they signed Matt Prater to the practice squad, so Not official yet, but I'm expecting Prater to be the kicker. So it looks like the Bills and Ravens are going to have new kickers for this game. Cornerback Christian Benford looks good to go. He upgraded from limited to full, so that is a good sign, kind of on the same trajectory as Jaire Alexander. I'm expecting Benford to go, which helps the Bills secondary. D-tackle Dwayne Carter is definitely out. He got placed on IR. Keon Coleman looks like he probably will go. He was limited 2 days in a row, but that groin injury just happened in practice. So the fact that he's even still out there is a good sign. I was reading some of the reporters from the Bills today. They said he was moving around well. Elijah Moore was a DNP, but for personal reasons, so not expecting much there. Khalil Shakir with 2 full back-to-back practices. He's definitely going to go. And then I think they'll be without Tre'Davious White with a groin injury. He had 2 DNPs back-to-back days, so not expecting Tre'Davious White or their kicker Tyler Bass to be out there. Week 1 is finally here. Football is back, baby. And this year, I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook to bring you an incredible offer. New customers bet $5 to get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. You heard that right. Bet just $5 and you get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just make sure you sign up using my promo code TFR. Todd Monken spoke to the media today and emphasized the turnover battle. That's been a consistent talk throughout the entire offseason, especially since this loss, because I still stand on the Ravens lost that game because they lost the turnover battle 3-0. That's on the defense and offense. That's on the offense playing sloppy and uncharacteristically having 3 turnovers, and that's on the Ravens defense for not capitalizing and creating some turnovers. Todd Monken spoke on the importance of the Ravens holding on to the ball and playing clean football in this game.
What do you think happened in that game that made turnovers kind of all come out at the same time?
I don't know. Because we've won other big games where we didn't turn it over. So, you know, that's ways. You got to win a lot of big games to get to where we were at the last couple of years I've been here without turning it over. And you got to do it in the playoffs. Just happened that it came up then. And it's unfortunate because you're not going to win, turn it over 3 times. And we know that. You're not going to win in the regular season. Forget the playoffs. I mean, when you're playing really good people, you might overcome it when you have certain advantages, but certainly not then.
I do think the Ravens defense is set up to get a lot more turnovers this year, but we'll see. You know, there's so many unknowns in week 1. On paper and what we've been hearing and seeing all offseason, the Ravens are attacking the football on defense. I really think with the upgraded secondary, especially with Jaire Alexander out there, the upgraded pass rush, adding a Mike Green to that pass rush, and just the focus and emphasis on punching the ball out, going and getting the ball. I do think that the Ravens will create more turnovers this year, but to be seen, right? You know, you never know until you go out there and do it. I think it is more important for the Ravens offense to just hold on to the ball. We saw how that game went in the playoffs where the Ravens offense was making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes and the Bills were able to just play safe, clean football. They didn't even take a lot of shots downfield. They didn't even take a lot of risks. And that's a compliment to the Bills. That's smart football. If the other team is making some mistakes, you could just take what the defense gives you and slowly chunk your way down the field. You know, take that 4-yard underneath pass or that 5-yard run and just keep it safe. Keep it simple and safe and march down the field. That's what they did last year. They didn't make a lot of mistakes on offense because the Ravens were making mistakes on their offensive side of the ball, and the Bills played a very smart game. But if the Ravens offense can play clean football and hold on to the ball or drastically limit the turnovers to 1 or less, I really think that the Bills aren't going to be able to not take any chances like they did in that playoff game. I really think the Bills are going to have to take some chances, and that leads to more opportunities for the Ravens defense to capitalize and create more problems for the Bills offense. They're not going to be able to play as simple and safe as they did in the playoff game unless the Ravens offense is giving them more and more opportunities to do so. So I think it's, you know, more important than ever for the Ravens to hold on to the ball on offense, limit penalties, limit mistakes, and just play clean football on their side. The Ravens made a sneaky signing yesterday that I talked about a little bit in JT Gray, 3-time All-Pro special teamer, and the coaches continue to rave about him, man. I think he could be on the field. I don't know if it'll be this week, but definitely by next week. JT Gray is going to be a weekly active guy that's going to play a big special teams role. And Chris Horton was raving about him today again after John Harbaugh was yesterday.
First off, you got to thank Eric and George and Mark for that, man. And you get a guy like JT he's just sitting out there, and he wants to come to Baltimore and be a part of this program and this organization after all the things that he's done and the reputation he has in this league. It's very exciting to have a guy like that. I mean, as a special teams coach, you look for guys like that, right? And to have that guy just sitting out there, and for us to be able to get him here, man, it's going to be fun.
Zach Orr also spoke to the media today, and he said that this year was one of the best training camps that he's ever been a part of.
Biggest thing going out of camp was just all 11 guys that's on the field at the same time, having the same common goal, being on the same page, and then just cutting it loose out there, man. So from an execution standpoint, everybody doing their assignments, 11 guys playing as one, and then just cutting it loose, man, attacking the football. That's the main thing we wanted to come out of camp, man, being fundamentally sound, being aggressive, and maximum effort, and I feel like we've done it. I'm happy with camp. It's been one of the best camps that I've been a part of here, so very pleased with how that went.
The reason I wanted to point this out is we've been hearing this from multiple coaches, multiple players throughout the entire offseason that this is the strongest offseason that the Ravens have ever had. The rookie class coming in more prepared than any rookie class that they've ever seen. Kyle Van Noy said that. And the coaches have just been raving about how productive and good of a training camp this is. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean anything if they roll into the season rusty and don't look like themselves. But I'm just saying that this is abnormal for everyone to being like, this is one of the best off seasons we've ever seen. Everyone's very confident about the work the Ravens put in, about where the team's at, and why shouldn't they be? I mean, this is the most stacked roster we've ever had in franchise history. Got to go out there and play like it, but on paper right now, and based off the evidence of last year, this is the most stacked team the Ravens have ever had. And from a coaching staff perspective, I mean, that should not go understated that the Ravens defensive staff has some serious defensive minds, man. You got Zach Orr, obviously, at defensive coordinator, but Dean Pease is still there too. And Chuck Pagano, who's now our secondary coach and is going to be able to inject a ton of knowledge into the other coaches and these players on defense, man. I think this coaching staff is also underrated, not talked about enough. This defense is going to play some smart football, and I just really think that they're on to something by saying this is the best offseason the Ravens have ever had. Now, hopefully they go out there and back it up, and I'm not just here overhyping it, but yeah, I just think it means something, man. It means something that the coaches continue to say this. One guy I am really excited to see out there on defense is Malaki Starks, his debut. We didn't see a ton of him in the preseason. I loved what I saw in the preseason, but they didn't play him a lot because he's going to be playing a lot with the starters. He's thrusted into a starting role, which is abnormal for Ravens rookies. Usually that is not the case. Malaki Starks is different with the Ardarius Washington injury. And not that they play exactly the same positions anyway. They might have had more options, though, if Ardarius was there, and they would have been able to work Malaki in a little bit of a different way. But I think Malaki is going to be playing on that back end often throughout the game. Kyle Hamilton's going to be the one moving around. But I am excited for Malaki Starks' debut. Zach Orr was also raving about him today, saying that he does not look like a rookie at all.
I'm fully confident in Malaki. I can't wait for him to go out there and go play a full game. He played a little bit in the preseason, but he didn't play a lot of snaps. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see how he goes out there and go do. I know how I feel like he's going to do. I think he's going to play really well for us. He's done great in camp. He's done great in practice. Like I say, he doesn't play like a rookie. He doesn't act like a rookie. But like we said, it's week one, so this is going to be his first professional game. We got to go out there and go see him do it. But I'm confident that he will go out there and go play great football for us. Like I said, he played early at Georgia, so this is nothing new for him.
Sticking with the secondary, one Raven that I think got snubbed in the NFL top 100 players is Marlon Humphrey. The Ravens have 4 top 100 players: Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. I think Marlon Humphrey belongs in there. Whether it's the back end or not, we could debate where it's at, but I do think that he is an underrated player, and Zach Orr echoed that today.
Marlon, first thing that stood out to me is this dude, he a rough rider on that field. Nice guy, great guy, goofy guy off the field, but when he hits that field and he puts those pads on, he's going to go 100 miles per hour, and he's not going to care who he hits. He's going to hit somebody, and that was kind of, you don't see that much from defensive backs, especially corner, what he started out as. But just really seeing his growth and maturity, I think Marlon had the benefit of when he came here, he had a lot of older vet guys around him like Ladarius Webb, Brandon Carr, Jimmy Smith, Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson, Anthony Levine, all these guys, and now he's that guy for a lot of the younger players. So just to see his maturity, his growth on and off the field, and to see him that he's still playing at a high level in year 9, I still think he's underrated as a player in this league. So I'm excited to see what he does this year, but his growth and maturity throughout these years since the time I've known him has been tremendous.
The versatility of Marlon Humphrey needs to be highlighted. This is a guy who's been able to really fill in wherever we needed. You know, he started to struggle a little bit in moments at outside corner as he got older, but boom, move him into the slot, and he has one of his best years, and he's out there making big plays in big moments. He did that all last season. We talked about not getting a lot of turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, especially in big moments. Well, I don't think you can say that about Marlon Humphrey. This guy was getting interceptions that changed the game in big moments. He had that pick 6 that comes to mind. He had that interception in the end zone against Tampa. Tampa was putting some points up on us early, man. They were up 10-0 in that game last year, and then Marlon Humphrey gets a pick in the end zone earlier in that game, changed the entire momentum. Offense starts to roll. Like, those interceptions matter, especially when you're taking away direct points from the other team. You know, they would at least got a field goal. So I think Marlon Humphrey has continued to step up in big moments and is one of the most Ravens. He's one of the most like elite Ravens underrated guys. I don't want to say he's the most underrated guy because obviously most people in the NFL know who Marlon Humphrey is, but I think Marlon Humphrey's one of our best players, and a lot of people who talk about the Ravens don't highlight him as one of the best players, but his versatility and just what he's been asked to do over the years and how he's been able to adapt and stay consistent, I think should not go understated, man. Marlon Humphrey is a huge piece to this Ravens defense and now is a veteran leader of this Ravens defense, and I think he's doing a great job. But that's it from today. Let me know what you guys are thinking about everything. Game preview episode tomorrow. It won't be, as many updates like today is. I'm going to dive into the specifics of the game and, give some score predictions and fun things like that. So also doing the Ronnie Stanley giveaway, autographed photo for the members. I'll spin the randomized wheel and get whoever wins their address and ship that out for free. So just a way to give back. I'll be doing all that tomorrow, game preview episode and giveaway. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. Podcast, the Flock Rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly.